These will be the notes for section 2.9, and 2.9 will have 2 worksheets with it. It requires practice and they take a while to do. I didn't assign very many, but the notes won't be, I'm not going to do a ton of them in your notes, 3 today. And here's why. We are going to be solving a quadratic equation, ax squared plus, you know it, bx plus c equals 0 by, we've done it several ways. We've done it when the b term was 0 and we could just use square roots. We did it with factoring in the last section, and now we're going to do it by using the quadratic formula. And you might say, well, why do we need so many ways to accomplish one task? And the reason is because really all we're trying to do is solve. Why do I need 3 ways? And there's a good explanation. First of all, solving by square roots only works when that bx is gone. If it's there, that doesn't work. Factoring only works when you can factor that polynomial. But if you have something like x squared plus 9x plus 6, that does not factor. There's nothing that multiplies to equal 6 that at the same time adds up to 9. It doesn't mean you can't solve this, it just means you can't solve it by factoring. So we have what's called the quadratic formula that works for all of them. And you might say, well, why didn't you teach me that one first and not do the other ones? Well, the quadratic formula, first of all, you have to remember the formula. Second of all, it's time consuming. So if the other 2 methods work, what I mean is, if you just have x squared minus 9 equals 0, no sense using the quadratic formula on that. I mean, we just have x squared is 9, take the square root, boom, done. I mean, it was a matter of mere seconds for me to solve that. However, the minute I insert in the middle of that this, and I ask you to solve it, by square roots doesn't work and by factoring doesn't work. So I need what's called the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula says that for you to get the solutions to that, you can just use a formula. And the formula looks like this. The solutions, which would be x, are equal to, and this gets sung to a song. Sorry, but I got to sing it to you. It goes, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Yes, I know. I hear you clapping. It was just lovely. I did such a great job. But one more time, it gets done to pop goes the weasel. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. See how I did the vibrato on there? All over 2a. And it works every time as long as you can find a, b, and c. And we're going to practice it. Are you ready? Example 1. Here we go. We're going to do x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. And we're going to do it using the quadratic formula, which requires the identification of a and b and c before we even start. A is what's in front of the x squared. It's a 1. B is what's in front of the x. It's a 5. C is the loner sitting at the end, and it's a 6. And those numbers need to get plugged into my formula, and my formula works like a map. And my formula is this: x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And now I just go plug all of these in. Are you ready? My answers will be negative, or the opposite of b. There it is, negative 5. Plus or minus the square root of b, which was 5, squared. 5 squared is 25. FYI, this will always It'll be really frustrate me if you come up to me with your homework and I look under that root and if I see a negative under there in the lead, because no matter what you square, even if b had been a negative 5, a negative times a negative is a positive, so you should never, ever, 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 ever lead with a negative under that root. No matter what, when we square b, it will be positive. B squared minus 4 times, and I want you to put these a and the c in brackets. It's 4a times c. A in this case is a 1. B in this case, C is a 6. And it's all over 2 times A. 2 times A would be 2 in this problem. Once you get this far, you go under the root and you do it. You do it either in your head or you do it on a calculator. I don't care how you get what's under that root, but you do need to go calculate that. It will be negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 24 is a 1. So there's a 1 living under that root. The square root of 1 is 1. So the next thing I do is I go take that square root. Again, if that had been root 7, I'd probably have to go round it on my calculator. Root 8, calculator. Root 9, I'd put a 3. But that was a root 1, which is just 1. Now I branch off and I do the plus on one branch and the minus on the other. Negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. I reduce the fraction. Negative 5 down 1, think of temperature, is down at negative 6. And I've got my 2 solutions. Now that took me a while. I will tell you that this one, actually, because it factored, so I purposely chose this one, if I were to give this one to my calculus students, they would have never launched into the quadratic formula because 2 and 3 make a 6 and add up to 5. So this one actually factors. What makes these factors equal to 0? Negative 2, score, and negative 3, score. What's a better process, the green or the blue and red? For this problem, the green's better. You might say, well, then why are you teaching us this stupid formula? Because the minute this goes to a 7, this won't factor, and you can only do it with the quadratic formula. So we're going to go do another one. Example 2. All right? So example 2. We are going to do 2x squared. And let's see, I think I'll have it be 2x squared minus 11x plus 5. Throw some negatives in here as well. So minus 11x and then a plus 5. And that's what's equal to 0. And that's probably all I'll do on this video and let you go practice it and see how it goes. So first thing I need to do is identify my A, my B, and my C. A is what's in front of x squared. B is what's in front of x. Take the sign with it. C is the loner at the end. Then I need to know my formula. Here it is. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. I'll be performing all weekend. Next, what do? I plug them in. Let's go do that. X is equal to negative b. Well, b is already negative, and a negative negative makes a positive. So you might want to think of this as the opposite of b. So that's going to be an 11 plus or minus the square root of b squared. Here's b. You need to square it. You do it in your head, you do it on a calculator, I don't care. But a negative times a negative is a positive. So make sure you put a positive 121 in there. minus 4 times A times C. Use parentheses, not dots, because they start to look like negatives. Uh-oh. 4 times A is a 2. Boom. Sorry about that. 4 times A times C. All over 2 times A. So notice I have put A in here and here. B, which is that negative 11, I took the opposite of it and got an 11. I squared it and got a 121, right? So let's go take a look here, and C was a 5. Let's go do what we do next. We go under this root and we get out a calculator, or we do it in our head. I don't care. But this 8, 4 times 2, times 5 is a 40 that I'm subtracting from 121. And I don't care if you do that all on a calculator. I actually suggest you do so you don't make a mistake. But under that root is 121, take away 40, which is 81. And it's all over 2 times 2, which is 4. Do I know the square root of 81? I do. It's 9. So I get 11 plus or minus 9 over 4. Now at this point, this is where I branch off. I have to go up 9, and I have to go down 9. 11 plus 9 is 20. And again, it's over 4. I reduce it. One answer is 5. 11 minus 9 is 2. And it's over 4. And I need to reduce that fraction. And I've got 2 answers, 5 and positive a half. And I'm done. So last up, one more example. Let's take a look at this one. X squared minus 10x plus 25 is equal to 0. Let's go a little faster here. A is 1, B is negative 10, C is 25. My formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Every single time I do it. Needs to get memorized. Mrs. LaRue's a horrible singer. All right. Now I got to plug them in. Negative b would be the opposite of a negative 10, which is 10, plus or minus the square root of b squared. Negative 10 times negative 10 is 100. Minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Hop under the root and do it. This would be 100 minus 100, which is 0. Uh-oh, now what do I do? Well, what I do is square root of 0 is 0. So I go 10 up 0 down 0 divided by 2. But when I go up 0, I get 10. And when I go down 0, I get 10. So basically what I'm getting is the same answer twice. I get a 5 and I get a 5. So I'm not going to say the answer is 5 and 5. You would say, how old are you? I'm 15 and 15. No, you're not. You're just 15. So my answer is 5. Now, one other thing that can happen with this is if what's under the root ends up being a negative. So let's just pretend this had been a 36. Just let's pretend. I'm going to go do it in blue. That's only pretend. Don't write on your notes. Had that been a 36, then this would have been a 36. And under that root would have been some negative number. And we can't root negatives. So what we would get to do at this point is just stop and say there's no solution. So the point of this is that usually you get 2 answers. Sometimes you get 1 answer, but because you can't root negatives, there's even a chance where you get no answers. So you got to watch out for that. So in summary, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Over and out. Peace out, Girl Scout. Done.